The chosen ones are formed through divine trials that refine their spirit, not destroy it. Before they step into their divine purpose, they are often placed in the furnace of life, where the heat feels unbearable and the pressure unrelenting. These trials are not punishments but sacred tools, instruments of heaven used to strip away everything that is not meant to stay. The chosen ones go through pain so deep that it shakes their faith, loneliness so profound that it forces them to turn only to God. Every tear, every setback, every betrayal becomes a stroke of the divine sculptor's hand. It is in the midst of these trials that their true identity begins to emerge. While the world may see their suffering as defeat, heaven sees it as transformation in progress. When God chooses someone, He does not immediately elevate them, He first refines them. Like gold in the fire, they must endure the burning that purifies. Their character is tested in silence, their patience stretched beyond limits, their faith challenged in ways they never imagined. God allows storms to reveal whether they will stand firm or drift away. He takes them through seasons of isolation where no one understands their pain, not because He has abandoned them, but because He is drawing them closer. The chosen ones learn to trust the unseen, to walk by faith when their eyes can see nothing but darkness. The more they lose, the more they begin to understand that God Himself is their only source of strength. In this divine process, comfort is replaced with discomfort, and certainty with surrender. Every trial becomes a lesson in humility, every fall a step toward wisdom. They realize that strength is not in how loud they roar, but in how silently they endure. Their pride is broken, their ego dismantled, and their will aligned with God's will. The trials strip them of worldly attachments and teach them dependence on divine provision. In the refining fire, the chosen ones learn that not all pain is punishment, some pain is preparation. They begin to see how every loss carries divine intention and how every disappointment is a redirection. What they once viewed as destruction now becomes the birthplace of their rebirth. The chosen ones often face misunderstanding because their path looks different. They are called to walk roads that few would dare to take. Their suffering becomes a secret conversation between them and God, where words are replaced by endurance, and prayers become their only language. The fire that surrounds them is not meant to destroy but to burn away what is impure, to expose the radiant core that God placed within them long before they were tested. The pressure they face builds resilience, teaching them to move through pain without losing grace. God allows them to be misunderstood, underestimated, and even rejected, for these are tools to strengthen their spirit and sharpen their focus. It is through these trials that they learn obedience. They learn that the path to greatness is not paved with applause but with struggle. The chosen ones understand that divine favor often attracts spiritual warfare. The closer they move toward their calling, the more intense their trials become. Yet through every fire, God stands beside them, molding them silently. Each wound becomes wisdom, each battle a testimony, each tear a seed of transformation. Their endurance through pain creates a depth that cannot be taught, only earned. The fire may scar them, but it also sanctifies them, marking them as chosen in a way no title ever could. These divine trials become their anointing oil. They are crushed, just as olives are crushed to release pure oil, and it is in that crushing that their divine purpose flows. The chosen ones come to realize that the same fire that once scared them is the very thing shaping their destiny. Every betrayal teaches discernment, every loss teaches faith, every heartbreak teaches compassion. God uses pain as a sacred language to reveal who they truly are beneath the surface of their humanity. In moments of despair, they find strength they never knew they had. In their silence, they hear divine whispers guiding them toward who they are meant to become. The chosen ones emerge from their trials transformed not because they escaped the fire, but because they allowed the fire to change them. Their spirit becomes unshakable, their faith unbreakable. They no longer fear storms because they have learned that every storm carries God's hand within it. Their resilience becomes their testimony, and their scars become evidence of divine craftsmanship. They walk not with pride but with quiet strength, knowing they have survived battles meant to destroy them. Each test they endured forged something eternal inside of them, a light that no darkness can extinguish. They realize that trials are not curses but divine invitations to grow beyond human limitation. Through every hardship, the chosen ones learn to surrender their own will to God's. They discover peace not in the absence of suffering but in the presence of divine purpose. They understand that refinement is a lifelong journey, not a single moment. God continues to shape them, sometimes gently, sometimes through fire, but always with love. What they once cursed becomes what they later thank Him for. Their past pain becomes their present power, and their endurance becomes a mirror of divine strength. Every trial that once broke them now stands as proof of their divine molding, the evidence that they were never destroyed, only refined. God transforms their brokenness into strength, revealing light hidden within their dust. The chosen ones often begin their journey unaware of the divine potential that rests inside them. Their lives seem ordinary, sometimes marked by deep pain, rejection, or loss, yet beneath all that brokenness lies the radiant essence of purpose. God sees what the world overlooks. He sees the treasure hidden within the dust, the fragments of a soul capable of carrying His glory. In His divine wisdom, He does not remove their pain but uses it as the very foundation for their transformation. Every crack in their heart becomes a place where His light can enter. Every scar becomes a symbol of grace that speaks louder than perfection ever could. The chosen ones are not shaped by comfort but by the sacred tension between suffering and surrender. When God begins to transform a chosen one, He allows them to be broken so that they can be rebuilt according to divine design. What once seemed like the end of their story becomes the beginning of a new creation. Through heartbreaks, disappointments, and moments of despair, their character is purified. They learn that human strength will always fail, but divine strength never does. Their tears become prayers, and their prayers become the building blocks of spiritual resilience. In their weakest moments, God whispers purpose. In their silence, He plants vision. It is in the breaking that they come to realize their dependence on Him is not weakness, it is power disguised as surrender. The chosen ones begin to understand that brokenness is not a sign of defeat but a tool of divine refinement. The world tells them to hide their scars, but God uses those same scars as a message of redemption. Each wound carries a story of divine intervention, each failure a seed of revelation. Their broken pieces are gathered by the hands of the Creator, not to be discarded but to be rearranged into something stronger, something more radiant. Like a mosaic crafted from shattered glass, their pain becomes art in the hands of God. What once cut them now reflects light. The dust that once symbolized ruin now glows with divine brilliance. The process of transformation is slow and often painful. God does not rush His work, for divine beauty takes time. The chosen ones must learn patience as they walk through seasons of uncertainty. There are moments when they feel forgotten, yet those are the seasons where the greatest miracles are forming in silence. In hidden places, God is rearranging the fragments of their identity, teaching them to see beauty where there was once only brokenness. They are stripped of pride, emptied of illusion, and filled with divine truth. What remains is something purer, a vessel that no longer relies on worldly validation but stands firm in divine confidence. Every storm they face polishes their spirit. Every fall teaches them how to rise with grace. The chosen ones come to realize that divine strength is not loud or boastful, it is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted in faith. God transforms their inner chaos into divine order, their confusion into clarity. In the process, they learn to let go of what no longer aligns with their destiny. The relationships that fall away, the opportunities that vanish, the doors that close all serve a purpose. Each loss clears the path for the light within to shine unobstructed. They learn that the breaking was never punishment but preparation for something greater. In their brokenness, they develop compassion. The pain that once made them bitter now makes them gentle. They begin to see others through the same eyes of mercy that God used on them. Their empathy becomes their ministry. They no longer judge others' struggles because they know what it means to be broken and redeemed. This newfound compassion becomes the reflection of divine love, the mark of those who have truly encountered grace. They realize that strength is not the absence of pain but the ability to keep shining through it. Their light is not borrowed, it is born from the ashes of everything they thought would destroy them. As the transformation deepens, the chosen ones begin to embody peace. They no longer strive to prove themselves because they know their worth was never determined by human standards. Their identity is anchored in divine purpose, not in the opinions of others. What once hurt them now heals them, and what once broke them now blesses them. The dust that covered them becomes radiant because God's presence dwells within it. Their story becomes a living testimony that God can take what was shattered and turn it into something sacred. Through this process, the chosen ones become mirrors of divine power. Their brokenness becomes their ministry, their pain becomes their wisdom, and their journey becomes their message. People who encounter them sense a quiet strength, an unspoken authority that comes not from ego but from endurance. They carry the fragrance of divine transformation, the peace that comes after the storm, the light that follows the breaking. Their very presence reminds others that no amount of dust can hide what God has declared radiant. They understand now that it was never about avoiding pain but about allowing pain to reveal the hidden light within them. God uses what was meant to destroy them as the very means of building them. Every trial becomes a testimony of His power to create beauty from ashes. They learn that true strength is not found in resistance but in surrender. The chosen ones no longer fear being broken because they know that God's hands are the safest place to fall. Each time they are shattered, they rise brighter, stronger, and more aligned with divine will. The transformation never truly ends, it continues as long as they remain open to God's touch. What began as broken dust becomes radiant spirit, glowing with the reflection of heaven's light, shaped by divine love into a masterpiece of purpose and strength. Every delay, pain, and test is part of God's sacred process of molding them into divine purpose. The chosen ones often wonder why their path is so different, why their prayers take longer to be answered, and why they must endure seasons of silence when others seem to flourish easily. Yet, what they do not realize in the moment is that God is preparing them for something that requires a deeper foundation. The waiting is not a punishment, it is training. Every delay builds endurance, every pain shapes character, and every test reveals the strength of their faith. God allows time to refine them because premature elevation can destroy what only maturity can sustain. The chosen ones must first be grounded in humility before they can carry the weight of divine responsibility. Through every waiting season, God is aligning their heart with His timing, their desires with His will, and their vision with His purpose. In the midst of delay, it is easy for them to feel forgotten, but heaven's silence is not absence, it is strategy. God uses stillness to draw them closer, to teach them to hear His voice above the noise of the world. The chosen ones learn to walk by faith, not by sight. Their patience becomes their strength, their stillness becomes their shield. What they think is a pause is actually divine precision. God is not late, He is deliberate. Every moment of waiting becomes a lesson in trust. He hides them not to withhold blessings but to protect their process. Like a seed buried in the soil, their purpose grows in darkness before it breaks through the surface into light. Pain becomes another instrument of divine shaping. The chosen ones are often taken through experiences that break their hearts open. They lose what they thought they couldn't live without, they face betrayals that pierce their souls, and they encounter loneliness that strips them bare. Yet through all of it, God is not destroying them, He is building them from the inside out. Pain reveals what is false and strengthens what is true. It exposes weakness and turns it into wisdom. It transforms pride into compassion and replaces fear with faith. The chosen ones begin to see that pain was never their enemy, it was the key to unlocking the depth of who they truly are. It is through pain that they learn to depend on God's strength instead of their own, and it is through heartbreak that they learn to love without conditions. Tests come in many forms. Some are spiritual, some emotional, and others material. God will test their patience, their faith, their loyalty, and their humility. he will strip away distractions and temptations to see if they will still trust him when the blessings seem far away. These tests are not meant to expose weakness but to reveal readiness. Each test is a divine checkpoint that prepares them for the next level of purpose. When the chosen ones pass one test, another follows not as punishment, but as proof that they are growing stronger. God's greatest gifts are often hidden behind the hardest tests because He only reveals power to those who have proven they can carry it with integrity. Through every delay, pain, and test, God is molding their hearts into instruments of purpose. The chosen ones begin to see that what they once called setbacks were actually setups for divine positioning. The people who left, the opportunities that failed, the doors that closed, all of it was part of the refining fire that purified their mission. Each delay taught them patience, each loss taught them gratitude, each test taught them faith. Slowly, they begin to move differently, think differently, and feel differently. They stop rushing and start trusting. They stop fighting for control and start surrendering. They understand that divine timing is not about speed but about synchronization, being ready at the exact moment heaven opens the door. God uses time as His chisel, carving out pride and shaping humility. He uses pain as His flame, burning away illusions of self-sufficiency. He uses tests as His hammer, strengthening the foundation of faith. Every element of their journey is intentional, every struggle has purpose. The chosen ones realize that nothing they have faced was wasted. Even the things that broke them served to reveal hidden layers of strength they never knew existed. What they thought was the end was actually the beginning of divine formation. Through every moment of suffering, God was building endurance, resilience, and faith, the essential materials for destiny. When the chosen ones finally emerge from the process, they carry a peace that cannot be shaken, a wisdom that cannot be taught, and a faith that cannot be broken. They no longer see delays as denials but as divine redirections. They no longer see pain as punishment but as purification. They no longer see tests as obstacles but as opportunities to prove their trust in God. Every hardship becomes a testimony, every scar becomes a story of survival, every tear becomes a seed of blessing. The process that once felt unbearable becomes the very reason they walk with strength and humility. And when their appointed time comes, everything begins to make sense. The pieces fit together, the storms quiet, and the purpose that once seemed distant unfolds right before them. They look back and realize that every delay was divine protection, every pain was divine preparation, and every test was divine promotion. They understand now that God was never withholding anything, He was crafting everything. Their waiting turned into wisdom, their pain into power, and their tests into triumphs. The chosen ones finally see that the process was not about breaking them, but about building them into who they were always meant to be. They step into their destiny not as who they were, but as who God has molded them to become, vessels of divine light, refined by fire, strengthened by time, and guided by grace.